Hello, everyone, and welcome to Digital Journeys. In this episode, we will be discussing takeaways from the Microsoft Ignite conference and a new solution that we have added to our Microsoft capabilities involving e-signature. Joining me today are Trace Armstrong and Nate Regimbal. So let's start with Trace. What were some keynote topics that got your attention at Ignite?
Well, I think the big thing that stands out is that the evolution and progression of what Microsoft is doing is sped up. Usually in the past at various Ignites, there are some really exciting announcements. Particularly, it's been around the Azure platform over the last few years. But this year, it felt like the accelerator got hit. Everything was about AI and Copilot and how AI is going to transform the way we work. And to be clear, AI is a big topic in the market today. A lot of people are afraid that AI is going to replace workers, and I am of the opinion that that's not true. I think AI is going to make the current workforce more productive and less mistake prone due to all of the features and things that Microsoft showed with Copilot. And then the other thing that really stood out is just the advancement in big data functionality, especially if you're in the Azure space and you're going to be connecting a lot of different data sources together and building lake houses. AI and Copilot is really going to drive a lot of that innovation in the marketplace. So that begs the question for all of us that are trying to wrap our heads around what's going on is, where do all of our business solutions and business applications fit in this new world with AI?
All right, thanks, Trace. Nate, I was sitting next to you at Ignite during the keynote sessions. I saw you taking a lot of notes. Anything jump out at you?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. And I'll touch on something that Trace mentioned as well, just from a different perspective. So I've got a background in AI as part of the effort over at IBM as part of the Watson launch for industry-specific solutions. And sometime after that, I then joined as the non-founding CEO at an AI startup. And listening to Satya at Ignite and seeing the companies that were exhibiting along with us and all of the featured Copilot use cases, I am as confident as I've ever been that the Microsoft strategy with AI will, at long last, lead to widespread adoption of AI. So I come out of this with a lot of optimism. There's a lot of creative AI use cases. You need to tag or pin the solutions to business objectives and pain points, and that's where we can help. But just the way that Microsoft technologies allow developers and business leaders to compose great solutions, it's as agile as it's ever been. And so I'm really optimistic about this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, thanks, Nate. And another thing I heard a lot of people talking about Microsoft Power Apps. Trace, you know a lot about Microsoft Power Apps. Can you describe what those are? Some of our listeners may not have any clue as to what they are or the benefits of them.
Sure. So there's the party line and then there's the reality. So I'm just going to be very, very clear here. Power Apps is a citizen developer friendly platform development tool. That said, to get more of the advanced functionality, you really want to work with a Power Platform expert to properly craft and build them. So from a citizen developer side, if someone needs to create a really simple application that will allow them to do tasks like track basic inventory, like let's say you have a rental car fleet as part of your company and you just need to keep track of where these vehicles are, what the registrations are, a citizen developer could go in and develop that app in Power Apps very easily. However, if you're going to go more advanced and you're going to get involved in supply chain type apps, if you're going to be doing integrations with your ERP like Dynamics, Business Central, or if you use SAP, you're going to want to use a developer to help you accomplish the goals you want in that app. So Power Apps is what it sounds like. It is a platform development application product in the Microsoft Cloud. And what's also nice about it is it works on the mobile app. It works in your normal tablet or desktop, laptop monitor screens. and it's available anywhere because it's in the cloud.
Okay, Trace, thanks for explaining Microsoft Power Apps. And let's tie back to Nate's comments around productization on Microsoft. So at Ignite, we announced our partnership with a company called Verdocs, which offers next generation e-signature in the Microsoft Cloud. This was very exciting news for us. Trace, can you tell the story about this?
Absolutely. So what makes this story so exciting, especially for Cherry Bekaert, is the enhancement to our Microsoft practice and licensing, because we are not just consulting and managed services anymore. We are helping bring our customers to the market. We are giving them the ability to sell their product on a wider platform globally by being in the Microsoft Teams store as well as AppSource. And AppSource is where customers can find solutions specific for different problems. In this case, e-signature. So if you go to the Microsoft Teams store today, you can download the Verdocs Teams app, and you can also go to AppSource, where you will get Power Automate connectors and a Power App component that will allow you to leverage the power of e-signatures in your custom applications. And since it's built on Power Apps, it also works in Dynamics Business Central, because for those of you that don't know, the back end of Dynamics Business Central is Power Apps. So with this offering, we have been able to give Verdocs a wider platform for integration, accomplishing their business application needs, as well as compliance needs when it revolves around the legality of e-signatures.
Thanks for that, Trace. Nate, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Trace. One of the areas that I lead within the firm is creating digitally driven, industry aligned, and repeatable solutions and use cases that are tied to and based on our core offerings. One of our core offerings being our Microsoft licensing and consulting services, all the way through to managed services. In these different solution areas, we feature analytics, automation, sustainability, and what we call innovation solutions. And our story with Verdocs ties out nicely within our Microsoft practice in the areas of automation, innovation, and even analytics.
All right, thank you for that, Nate. So let's jump over to some of the benefits of using the Verdocs solution opposed to other e-signature solutions. What makes Verdocs better?
Well, first off, I think the one that people are going to be most interested in is price. Compared to other popular e-signature products on the market, the price is highly competitive. And I think that will be the number one benefit that customers will see is in their yearly budgets. Number two, this is the first fully integratable Microsoft e-signature tool on the market. So yes, some of these other popular e-signature tools have apps within the Teams store or built into SharePoint or things like that. And there is some limited Power Automate functionality that's available. However, with Verdocs, we took that to the next level, which is why we call it the next generation e-signature tool. So within the Teams app, you can actually build your own templates for e-signature, which is not real easy to do in some of these other popular tools. The Teams app also allows you to manage all of the administrative function directly in the app. So if you want to add a user from your organization to the Verdocs e-signature tool, you can do it directly in the Teams app. The other thing that's also great about that is, compared to some of the other popular tools, is you have to purchase additional licensing for each individual user on top of what you're paying for the signature. Again, relating back to the price, Verdocs is just going to sell your tenant a block of signatures, and then you can add as many users within your organization to consume those signatures as necessary. So that right there is a huge benefit if you're trying to utilize e-signature within your Microsoft tenant. Then on the other side, we have the first of its kind where you can actually launch e-signatures out of a custom Power App. So let's say that you have a contract or you have an invoice generating Power App. So data is coming from an ERP or it's being manually entered, but either way, Power Apps is the gateway through which this information gets distributed. You can go into the Power App, pull in that information from your ERP, put in the pertinent details, like here's our customer name, here's the email address we want it to go to, here's the cell phone we need to send it to, all of those different things. And then within that Power App, we have the Verdocs component. And in that component, you can actually map fields from the Power App to your Verdocs template that you created a few minutes earlier in your Teams app. So that way, when you use the Power App, you fill it out, all the information is in there. All you have to do is click a button that says Verdocs Me in your Power App, and it will auto generate and send the e-signature. As far as we are aware, this is the first of its kind, and it works exactly the way you want. When you hit that Verdocs Me button, whoever's next in the signature realm, they get a text message and an email. They can digitally e-sign it, and then it continues on through the workflow until it is complete. So from a standpoint of how does Verdocs enhance the e-signature process, you can fully integrate it within your business applications end to end without having to switch browser windows, without having to open up a third-party application. It's all in the single system.
So Trace, that is awesome. I'm just going to jump in really quick. What I love about being able to compose these use cases is the ease with which you can do it. I remember watching you in Seattle when you were demonstrating Verdocs to people visiting our booth. It's almost a drag and drop. Step 1, use this template. Step 2, populate it with this data. Step 3, route it to this person. Step 4, it's the perfect combination of lower cost, easy to use, agilely built, agilely consumable technology. You know, documents and workflows requiring electronic signature are by definition mission critical. And the business processes and the controls and even the analytics that you can put on top of these workflows, the organizational change around it, these are all key focus areas for our digital advisory practice and within our Microsoft practice. So I just love these use cases. It's such a strong enhancement to our Microsoft practice. And in addition to those comments or the ability just to compose steps in a workflow, at any one of those steps, you can invoke a Copilot or an AI use case where you say, hey, ask these questions about this document that is being routed for signature. And if I answer those questions with AI a certain way, let it proceed. If I have answers that I don't like, well then, halt or stop or cancel the workflow. So it's a perfect example of a highly configurable, business critical workflow automation with a lot of low-hanging AI use cases.
Yeah, that's so true. And besides the simplicity of this, I know that both of you are very optimistic about the artificial intelligence use case opportunities through the new eSig workflows by Verdocs. Trace, can you talk about that?
Absolutely, Jerry. And this is where Copilot is really going to start to transform how we all work. Because Verdocs was built in a way where it was integratable with all these different systems within Microsoft, you have the ability to plug Copilot in, as Nate was hinting at just a minute ago. I think one of the bigger enhancements is going to be the ability within Copilot Studio to build your own chatbot for it. So you can use Verdocs as a data source. It's going to hit that API, and you're going to be able to get all the answers you could possibly look for. So because one of the things we talked about a few minutes ago is Verdocs is this developer-friendly tool as well as an end-user-friendly tool, the ability to create custom solutions that involve e-signature get that much higher. So with Copilot and being able to connect it to your own chatbot, you can do things like, hey, instead of having to run the workflow that we package with the Power Automate flows to get my list of envelopes, I can say, hey, Copilot, what are the envelopes that have been sent out in the last 3 days? And Copilot's going to go, it's going to hit that API, and it's going to send you back the information you want. Here's the envelopes you sent out the last 3 days. Here's who they went out to. Here's their status. You're going to be able to get those answers instead of having to do what we normally do. So for instance, here's a real life use case that happens with us in e-signature all the time. hey, did you send that contract out? No, so-and-so did it. Well, call so-and-so. Well, then you have to Teams chat so-and-so. Oh, so-and-so's on PTO. They're not reachable. I guess we're going to have to wait 3 days to get a status update. With the Copilot functionality, I can just ask Copilot and Copilot will tell me. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to go chase anybody down. There's my answer right there. So the benefits just from a logistical standpoint with Copilot are going to enhance all of this. And then even taking it a step further, just this morning, I was building a workflow using the Verdocs connectors, and Copilot was able to make a connection to Verdocs and actually offer me up suggestions for what I could do in the workflow with the Verdocs connectors we have. And so that functionality there is also going to put organizations at a standpoint where they can build more robust, and I will even use the word complicated flows that have different business logic depending on the situation. So that right there alone is going to enhance Verdocs e-signature through AI and Copilot.
Thanks, Trace. Yeah, I just want to add to that really quick, and why it's such a great enhancement to our Microsoft practice. It goes to what you said around, and I don't like the word complicated as much as I like multifaceted, but we're all familiar with the notion of if this, then that, and the ability to configure certain business rules and just have them execute as steps in a workflow for mission critical documentation. Obviously, that's kind of a dream come true, right? There's also this notion that you just mentioned of asking questions of your content, and you gave the example that, so-and-so's got a contract or a redlined Word document in their inbox, right? Think about all of the sales orders, rental agreements, leases, statements of work, master services agreement. I mean, think of the universe of all the contracts out there, and they're sitting in redlined Word documents in someone's inbox. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hate sending, save as version one final _.final. I mean it final. Sorry to get a little silly here, but you lift that out of email, you put it into a Verdocs template, you put it into a workflow, and now you can start asking meaningful questions about everything in your pipeline. On top of just the ability to have, conditioned based workflow interruptions or routing or different approvals based on what's about to be signed. It's perfect for composing solutions, and that's why we're really excited about this in our Microsoft practice.
Yep. And to add one little bit to that, think about this like you're talking about from a contract management standpoint. Most organizations, their system of record is their ERP. So if you're using Dynamics and you're using Dynamics to track opportunities, whether you're in, sales like we are in terms of services, or whether you are delivering, let's say you are a Caterpillar dealer and you're delivering equipment, that Dynamics is your system of record. And because the e-signature tool can integrate fully with Dynamics, you can not just ask questions about the contract, but you can also ask Copilot questions about what you're selling, because the contract agreement you're sending out is now tied to a CRM record. So you can get the full picture of what you're desiring and get the answers you need.
And since we're playing the pile-up game, or the but wait, there's more, Trace, once it's all embedded within the Microsoft Cloud, you can now do events-based automations. So for example, I just signed a deal for 50 widgets, okay? Well, I'll ask Copilot to say, well, how many widgets were just sold by this deal and was it signed? Yep, okay, 50. Well, now, decrement 50 from inventory, and if you reach a certain, call it spare parts replenishment threshold, well, then automatically spin up an order to order spare parts. And that's just an example of how being natively integrated into the cloud, into the Microsoft Cloud, and using this intelligence and just good old-fashioned events-based workflow instantiation, the sky's the limit on what you can automate and how you can be more data-driven in all of your operations around this.
Yep. And then in our last Billy Mays, but wait, there's more moment, the thing that I'm most excited about with all of this is the idea of predictive analytics. So since all of this information is living in the Microsoft Cloud, I've got my system of record. I've got contracts through Verdocs that, let's say, I sent out for signature. Here's the ones I actually received back with signature that became full orders, et cetera, et cetera. With Copilot, you can actually build Power BI dashboards that's going to look at all this historical data, and you can actually have a predictive analytics dashboard that says, well, based on the amount of growth you experienced year over year, based on the amount of contracts you sent out versus the amount you received, here's what you can start to expect for next year or the year after that based on these past analytics. So when we're talking about this e-signature solution and AI and how it's really going to transform how organizations work, we're not kidding. This is a game changer, and it's going to take a while to really see how big this box really is. This is only what we know about today. We don't know how much bigger this gets over the next 3 years as AI, Copilot, Verdocs, all of these solutions mature.
Well put, Trace. Well, Jerry, back to you. Try to contain all of this energy.
No, this is great. I love watching you two get excited about this. I love the discussion back and forth. This is so good, and I mean, the sky's the limit for this technology for sure. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up today. Trace, Nate, thank you for the energy that you brought to the discussion today and talking about Verdocs and the wonderful enhancement to our Microsoft offerings.
Absolutely, Jerry, Nate. It's always fun coming on here and getting to talk about the exciting things that the Microsoft practice within the Cherry Bekaert Advisory line is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks, Trace. Always a pleasure. Jerry, thanks again for having us.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Digital Journeys and walked away with some useful information. Stay tuned for the next Digital Journeys.